Oh yeah, I'm not just here for you. I'm here for everybody. Everybody has problems here, and I'm trying to help everybody. So I think that this is going to be pretty helpful for most people within the 100 Acre Wood. And I think my next stop is going to be Rabbit because she really struggles with needing everything to be just right. Um, Hello there. Eeyore, what are you doing here? Oh, you're a little sad. Oh, that's okay. I would be sad too if I had lost my tail. Can you tell me where you last saw it? Oh, wait, who am I? Yeah, I'm not Christopher Robin. No, no, no. I would never try to be your god. But I'm definitely someone that sees a lot of issues with the way things are run around here. So I kind of wanted to come and help. I thought that maybe a therapist type friend would do really well here. I've heard a lot of stories, a lot of things about you and all of your friends. Hopefully that doesn't frighten you. It's definitely like I chose to come here, but if you're okay with that, I can help you. Well, yes, of course, I can help solve a few of your issues. I think I've gotten the gist as to how things work around here, and particularly, I think I have the gist as to why you keep losing your tail. Depression is a crazy drug, and I wore this very light green color because I didn't want anything too saturated because I didn't want to scare the depression, right? So what I would like to do, if you're willing, Eeyore, is I want to first of all figure out where was it that you last saw your tail. Sort of talk about why you went to these spots and potentially what is it that where why does it keep falling off. I want to then measure your butt to see the perfect placement. That's really important because yes, we do know that there is a hole back there, but it's not for what you think it is. The tail doesn't go in there. So if you just want the tail to stay, I think, and I might be incorrect here, but I think that you're replacing it incorrectly, right? So if I measure and find the perfect spot, I'll then be able to put a new hole for you to put the tail in, and that way that tail will stay there. And it'll be all good, and you won't have to lose your tail again. Yeah, I know. And then maybe then we'll talk about, this other issue that you're bringing up, which is that you kind of like that you lose your tail because it brings attention from people, even though you're sad about it. And you tell them it's fine, but it's really not fine. And you don't want to bother anybody because you're just sort of depressed and you're kind of living by yourself. And not just by yourself, but you kind of have sticks for a home. And really, why is everybody okay with that, But regardless, how about we just get started with where you've been, right? So I do have a map of our locale. I think that would be very, very helpful for us. So this is, of course, I don't think you're allowed to see this. This is sort of like if God was showing you sort of the pre-written fate of every human in existence. I think this is kind of the same, but there is a handy map here, so maybe we'll just deal with the map. We don't have to worry about what's back here. This may tell your fate in your future and how you're gonna die, but really, I don't think that's something that you really need to stress over. You have a lot of worries already without thinking about the future, right? So, let's do this. Okay, so let's take a good look here. As you can see, there's a lot of places that you could have gone. So I think the first thing that I wanted to ask is, have you been to Kanga's house today? Do you think you could have lost it? Kanga and Rue, they definitely have fun personalities, and it can get a little chaotic, so potentially you could have lost it in there. No? Okay. So how about this is where Rue plays, Sandy, right here. Do you think that you might have played with Rue a little bit and Rue may have taken your tail? No? Okay. Let's go. Okay, what about Rabbit's house? What about Rabbit? Rabbit's a bit, bit type A. And you're not really around Rabbit all that much by yourself, because depression and anxiety don't particularly go well together. They really, there's a bit of tension. But I do think that Rabbit has her best intentions for you at heart. So I would say if you're going to, if you haven't been to Rabbit's house, we can definitely rule it out. But try to, look inward, I would say, Eeyore. Next, have you gone to Pooh Bear recently? Pooh Bear, nice, calm Pooh Bear. If you lost your tail there, I'm sure he wouldn't have found it because, why would he? He's not really going to be looking for it. So this is a good place to start. And you definitely hang out with Pooh Bear a decent amount, right? So I would say this is a good one. You could also go to Piglet's house. I heard that they're getting married soon. So I'm sure they're spending a lot of time together. So, yeah. Okay. Next, have you been to where the Woozle wasn't? Okay. How about Christopher Robin's house? Have you seen Christopher Robin lately? Maybe he took your tail. No. Okay. Okay. Lastly, I do want to ask, I'm sure you haven't been to the bee tree and, this is all obviously the 100-acre wood, but and of course we're down here. We're at Eeyore's gloomy place. That is something else that I wanted to talk about. Did you really need to name it your gloomy place? It doesn't need to be gloomy. It could be happy. It fits your vibe, it fits your style, your lifestyle. Yeah, okay, I understand that. But I would try to think that even in this metatextual godlike book, it says rather boggy and sad. It's, you don't really want that. You don't want a god to look upon you and think, wow, you're kind of sad. That's not really that's not the vibe. It's not giving. So I would say definitely let's work on that. Okay, so we have a few places that we want to look. So how about we move on from that? Because we don't really, I'm not going to help you look for it. I think that looking for the tail should be sort of a journey that you take by yourself. You often have friends that help you, and you often you often rely on them a bit too much, I would say. Potentially, you need to figure out how to do it yourself, right? So I would say that I should take a few measurements of your butt now. Totally normal and fine. If you could just turn around for me, please, Eeyore. Yes, I know it is a bother, but it's not. You're being a good sport about this. Is what I want to say. Okay, so let me unfurl this actually. Okay, so are you ready? Okay. Okay, so let's first take width and height, okay? Because we want to make sure, and if you could actually tell me exactly where you put the tail first, so that I can figure out where not to. Well, okay, so you put it right there. Yeah, no, that's not good. That's there's other purposes for that spot that isn't what you're doing. So let's just take a quick measurement here. So width and height first. So let's do width here. Hold on. Okay, so is this okay? Okay, and then let's do height. Okay, pretty good. Okay, have you grown taller, Eeyore? I think that is pretty impressive, I would say. Okay, let me write that down. There is the pencil. Okay, so in terms of width, inches. Yep. And then in terms of height. Okay. All right. And so now that we've done that, I'm going to then do the radius of the hole. Not the hole, but the radius around the hole. There needs to be a decent amount of space, and generally in a lot of animals, not that you're an animal, but what I want to say is when you end up having a tail that isn't necessarily anatomically connected, you want to place it sort of similar to where it would naturally be, which would be a bit north of where you've been placing it. So then I would say we should measure how far away and take a few steps, and then I'm going to try and calculate it, okay? I think that would be helpful for you and helpful for me and helpful for you specifically, because I think that, this isn't, your design was made by a flawed God, right? Christopher Robin, bless his heart, has tried very hard. And he doesn't have the mental faculty to think of these things, I would say. And that's okay. Not every God is perfect. But every God is loving, and your God is loving. So I envy you, Okay. So let's start here and just, okay. So we, right there, a bit more, and then right there. Okay. And then a bit more here, right there. Okay, then. So let's put that down. These measurements are very important. Okay. And then I'm going to do a little bit of calculation. Okay, so Christopher Robin, the God, of course, is a child. So he hasn't really gone through the proper certifications. However, I definitely did take calculus, so I should be able to do these calculations fairly simply. Yes, of course. And, I was one of the people that first created the computer. So you don't know what a computer is. Okay. Well, that's okay. I would think you might not want to know what a computer is, or at the very least, the 100-acre wood isn't necessarily a place where I think you, Eeyore, would benefit from a computer, or maybe even you wouldn't benefit from the internet, Yes, so if you imagine, how you can have like two cups and a string attached, like between, like you and Pooh Bear, for example. Pooh Bear lives all the way across the 100-acre wood. But if you have that, imagine that, but all of your friends are connected. It sounds great, but really, oh no, it sounds terrible. Yes. Oh yeah. Right. You are depression, so I'm sorry. Did I give that? You have depression. I'm so sorry. I try not to include spoilers in my when I do these things. Oh yeah, I'm not just here for you. I'm here for everybody. Everybody has problems here, and I'm trying to help everybody. So I think that this is going to be pretty helpful for most people within the 100-acre wood. And I think my next stop is going to be Rabbit, because she really struggles with needing everything to be just right. Okay, so if I do this calculation correctly and solve, that is okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a little bit of tape, and I'm going to place it exactly where I think. Hold on. Yes, I'm going to place it exactly where I think the perfect spot is. And I'm going to use that as a guide. And then I'm going to cut around it. And I'm just cutting a little bit of your fur. I'm not actually like cutting you, right? But there is going to be a little bit of digging. I'm sure that, I don't know how your depression manifests, but I'm sure you let your freak flag fly, so I'm sure it's not the first time someone's been digging back there. So let's just put that there. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so let's just cut around it. Okay. Perfect. And then just doing a bit more over here. Nice and simple. Yeah. So tell me, Eeyore, while I'm doing this, what is it about sort of your inclinations that make you want to put your feelings and your emotions last? I know you say that you don't do that, but, we can stop lying at this point, I think that it's important for you to recognize that, when Pooh Bear comes looking for honey and Piglet's with him, or they have a problem, you end up asking them where the tail, or like if they've seen your tail, and they generally haven't seen it, and they generally are helpful, right? They try and help you, but half the time you're trying to dissuade them. Yes, and of course. That's my helper back there. But you're trying to dissuade them, and I don't think that that's particularly helpful to you. You need to be able to take up space, right? You have a lot of space on the map, but it's space that you don't really want to be taking up. It's just on accident. So just okay. So let's just go in there, and since I see some irritation right here above, I'm just going to go in and take it out nice and easy. Yeah, I think it's irritated because if I think about it, this is sort of naturally where it should be. So potentially, over time, you didn't want to put it there because it felt bad, like it didn't feel very good, and so you went a bit further south, right? And that's totally fine, except that, you keep losing it. You keep losing your tail. So let's just remove this irritation. Yes, I'm just taking it out. And while we're doing this, I do want to ask Mr. Eeyore, so do you enjoy being in the gloomy place? Your gloomy place. Okay. So yeah, we're going to get into a few questions that I wanted to ask you here at the end after I finish this. So I just want you to think about your gloomy place. I want you to think about what you like about it, Just come up with different ideas, because it'll come in handy. So okay, all right, just okay. Okay, there we go. Okay. Pretty good. Okay, and then now that that is done, we're going to go ahead and start doing a little bit of the digging here. I removed the irritation, and I think you should be good. This is just to help you indicate, right? So when you're going to replace your tail, or you're going to have someone else replace your tail, the little hole, like we've cut around, and now there's going to be a little hole that's going to be there for someone to actually put it in, right? Which will be very helpful. So let's just go in here and just stay still for me, Eeyore. Okay, good. You're doing a great job. Okay. All right. There we go. Yeah. It's not perfect, but it's going to be okay, because, I'm not I'm trying to be both solution oriented as well as emotionally driven. You know, this is one of those things where you know, I'm trying to help everybody here, and some things are very mechanical. You keep losing your tail. Why does that keep happening? Let's fix that. But some things are more emotional, like, why are you always so gloomy? Okay, perfect. Okay then, so now that we're done with that, we can move along to a few of our questions, right? Before I move on too quickly, how does it feel? Yes, how does the hole above your butt feel? Weird, sort of different. Yeah, I completely understand. It's definitely one of those things where you might need to get used to it, but it'll perfectly keep your tail so that you don't have to lose it constantly. So here, let me just double check that it's in the right spot as well, because I want to make sure that we've done our due diligence, right? So let's just, okay, and then, okay. And then if I just, here. Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So I think we can move on to our questions next. So, when did you move to your gloomy place? Okay, you've lived there since you can remember. Okay, and is there anything that you think could be different about your gloomy place? Okay. Do you think that you like living in your gloomy place? Yes, a lot of these questions are based off of where you live right now, but I think that, it's kind of difficult. Sometimes depression is situational, and that doesn't make it any less real, but it is a situation that when you are out of it, it's much easier for you to sort of snap out of that depressive state. And I'm trying to determine where you're living is sort of causing that problem. So do you feel like there's any societal structures blocking you from moving from your gloomy place to another place? Okay. Do you think that the lack of a union in 100 Acre Wood negatively impacts your decision-making process in terms of what is best for you? Okay. Okay. And lastly, I wanted to ask, do you think that the residents of 100 Acre Wood are out to get you? Okay. Okay, yeah. So I'm just going to prescribe you a bit of some medication. Just something to help you with your, with what you're struggling with. I would suggest finding a new place to live. It's definitely a situation where you living in a place called the gloomy place might be contributing to the gloom factor. Sometimes it can be that simple. So if we want, I can connect you to a real estate agent. I know a few really good ones here in the 100 Acre Woods. They're particularly fierce, they're really good competition with each other. So it really keeps the housing prices down here. Actually, I could connect you with the one that Pooh Bear used to get his place. So yeah. Okay. Well, all right then. I hope that you are you feel a little less bad about yourself, and I hope that you find your tail soon, and that once you find it, you will never let it go. Okay. All right.